The cost of travel, the security of your target destination, and lodging alternatives are just a few of the many things to think about while arranging a holiday. But whether we like it or not, money is the factor that has the biggest impact on our travel choices. Welcome to the Wow Travel channel, for all your travel knowledge. Subscribe and let's dive into the video. We really want to choose locations where our dollars have the most purchasing power because all those resort fees, airfares, and life-changing dinners add up pretty quickly. Based on current currency rates, looking deep you can identify the nations where the American dollar travels the farthest. And while those rates are subject to change at any time due to the cyclical nature of the global economy, there are some locations that have consistently provided us with better value over the years. With any luck, this trend will continue at least through 2023. Which nations around the world provide the best value? Where can you go in 2023 that will let you stay longer, have a greater level of living, and spend less money? The following list includes 30 locations worldwide that provide lodging, transportation, and food. Laos, $30 per day. Although the lodging was a little more expensive than most areas in Southeast Asia at the time, Laos was one of the 2 locations where you could maintain your budget at $30 per day. There are many affordable, fantastic things to do in Laos. You spend $2.50 to view one of the world's most stunning waterfalls, $7 for a full day of river tubing on the Vang Vieng, and $6 for a fantastic tiger balm massage. Also, you can easily rent a motorcycle and travel to the smaller towns, where everything is even less expensive. You can travel for cheaper for longer because there are more and more hostels being created to accommodate the growing number of backpackers. A beautiful room, which would typically cost $100 in the US, may be had for closer to $35 if you have a little more money to spend. Vietnam, $35 per day. The cheapest and healthiest street food in Vietnam was probably what you had. Consider a bowl of soup for $1.50 that contains a whole shank of pork, rice noodles, cilantro, and a delicious broth, or a $1 cup of robust, flavorful coffee. Renting a motorcycle can take care of all your transportation needs for the day. However, it is understood that not everyone feels comfortable operating a motorcycle, particularly in nations like Vietnam where the flow of traffic may be utterly chaotic. The good news is that Grab Bike is readily accessible in all major cities, and a 2-kilometer trip only costs 50 cents. Additionally inexpensive and dependable are long-distance buses and trains. Similar to practically anywhere else in the world, lodging is nice and more affordable. Cambodia, $30 per day. You are aware that, if you decide to rough it, you can easily travel around Cambodia for a month on $1,000. Although they can be quite inexpensive, dorm rooms are just as affordable as food and booze. One must also be skilled at haggling in order to nearly always be able to talk their way out of being overcharged by tuk-tuk drivers. There are certain one-time costs, like the $62 3-day Angkor Wat Pass, and diving expeditions that pile up, but there will also be days when spending just $1 or $2 could go a long way, as when you're riding a bicycle through a little town and eating inexpensive but excellent pork skewers. Consider the stunning, mostly brand new boutique hotels on Booking.com as well. Obviously, they are more expensive than hostels, but they are well worth the cost. Northern Thailand, $32 per day. On a tight budget, the north of Thailand is simple. The expense of lodging begins to double, triple, and even quadruple as one travels south. If you are traveling to Thailand on a tight schedule or budget, stay up north. Even in well-known locations like Chiang Mai and Pai, it's simple to find inexpensive dorms. To each their own, but if you continue to eat street food, why eat spaghetti when you can have pad thai? You'll not only save some money, but the experience will also be much more tasty and authentic. The majority of activities, like visiting the White Temple, trekking, or getting 3 other people from your hostel to rent a car and go on some day trips, are all reasonably priced, so you really don't need a lot of money to have a good time. Indonesia, $35 per day. The interesting thing about Indonesia is that, depending on one key factor, transportation, it can either be very affordable or rather expensive. Both intercity travel and taking a private boat to move from one island to another can be both time and money consuming. Be consistent with 1 or 2 regions to save money. There is a lot to see and do, and staying longer in one location will only enable you to explore further and have more fulfilling experiences. The best advice I can give you is to use the local transportation if you wish to travel extensively on a tight price. On the other hand, food and beverages are reasonably priced all throughout the nation and also incredibly tasty. A scooter ride through the highlands, a waterfall hunt, or spending the entire day lounging in a hammock by the beach all cost relatively little money. Particularly in locations like the Gili Islands, hostels are widely available, sociable, and inexpensive. The Philippines, $37 per day. Traveling around the archipelago of the Philippines may be fairly expensive and time-consuming, and there aren't nearly as many hostel options as there are in other Southeast Asian nations. There are ways to reduce your travel expenses in the Philippines, even if these two aspects may seem like a big turnoff to tourists attempting to stretch their money as far as possible. The Philippines can still be reasonably priced to visit if you pick off-peak travel dates, reserve your flights and itinerary well in advance. This is not a country where you should always wing it, and aim to stay within one or two regions. Also, the nation contains some of the most stunning islands, dive spots, and hidden jewels that would have cost considerably more to visit in other regions of the world. In that regard, visiting the Philippines is a wise investment. Malaysia, $40 per day. Malaysia, one of the most economically developed nations in Southeast Asia, is frequently thought of as being pricey. Also, a few people will advise you if this is your first time visiting Malaysia, that it wasn't worth staying there for very long. In contrast, you wind up interacting with a lot more locals, are better able to converse with them, and find points of common interest than you would in Cambodia or Laos. You also have a great time touring the Cameron Highlands, Borneo's jungles, and the stunning islands. The icing on the cake, they were all within reach. There are numerous interesting local neighborhoods and markets that are free to explore. An overnight bus to the Perhentian Islands from Kuala Lumpur costs as little as $15, and Malaysian food is unlike any other. You can find food from just about any culture, and it's so cheap and delicious, though not always healthy. One of the least expensive places in the world to earn a PADI scuba diving certification is Malaysia. Sri Lanka, $35 per day. Like many other nations, Sri Lanka can be visited on a backpacker's budget, or for a sizable sum of money. The cost of excursions like safaris and entry into UNESCO World Heritage Sites was the biggest shocker. This made it more expensive to completely visit Sri Lanka because each ticket cost roughly $40 to $50. But on days when you forego costly activities, you may get by in Sri Lanka for less than $30 per day. Meals, transportation, lodging, and internet access are all reasonably priced. Using a taxi or using Uber in major cities can occasionally be less expensive than renting a bike, which is something to keep in mind when it comes to transportation. If you can locate fellow travelers in your hostel to divide the cost, hiring a driver for the day can cost as little as $5 per person. The railway is the most affordable mode of transportation and, in my opinion, the greatest way to travel through Sri Lanka. Nepal, $30 per day or $15 per day if trekking. If you eat, sleep, and travel locally, Nepal is a relatively affordable place to visit, with most meals, lodging, and transportation costing only a few dollars. Although Nepal's street cuisine doesn't exactly have the finest reputation, most people don't necessarily complain about it. But you can find inexpensive and delectable home-cooked meals in neighborhood tiny cafes. When making an online reservation for lodging, exercise extreme caution because large businesses have converted neighborhood homestays into boutique hotels and resorts. It's possible that the local guest houses you've reserved are a part of a major hotel chain. It's advised to make your first few reservations online, and then hunt for true neighborhood guest houses when you get there. If you decide to go trekking, you can travel for as little as $10 per day on food and lodging at lower elevations and closer to $20 at higher elevations on well-traveled routes like the Annapurna circuit, as long as you do it independently and stay away from MT Everest, which costs tens of thousands of dollars. These locations not only provide inexpensive lodging and meals, but also a rich, locally specific cultural experience. There is something for everyone on a budget, whether they want to hike through beautiful Romanian landscapes or explore ancient ruins in Mexico. These budget-friendly locations allow visitors to experience new cultures, meet new people, and make lifelong experiences without having to worry about going over budget. Hence, if you want to travel in 2023 without going broke, think about going to one of these affordable places for a truly rewarding and life-changing experience. Thank you for watching. Follow for more.